Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to One Sober to Another. I'm Wayne, and I'm still an alcoholic. Part 3 of I Am a Train Wreck kind of starts like this. Nobody wants to regurgitate their feelings and the way they are thinking to a whole bunch of strangers, especially an alcoholic or an addict like me. When I was in rehab, that's exactly what I had to do. Every single day, I had to go to the group meetings, I had to go to the counseling and throw up all of my feelings and everything that was bogging me down. What I found is that was the freedom from my alcoholism, and that was the freedom from myself. I thought that was the cure, and I thought that if I did that work and I put forth the effort within the groups and everything else, and I told just enough to where people thought that I was okay, that I wouldn't drink anymore, and somehow my alcoholic brain taught me that, and then next, that I could tell them just enough to where they believed that I was successful in the program and that I could walk away with no problem whatsoever, go back to my unit and be the most awesome leader that I could be, and be there for my soldiers. I wasn't thinking about my family, and I wasn't thinking about myself later on. I was simply thinking about, how do I get back to my unit? How do I get out of this rehab? And what is the quickest way to make people believe that I don't drink anymore? So I did all that. I convinced everybody, to include myself, that I was completely fine and nothing was wrong anymore, and that I was fixed and cured simply because I went to the rehab program. A lot of folks think like that. I don't know. Drop your comments below, because someone's going to get something from it that they can relate to and maybe apply in a better way in their lives. If you're headed to rehab or anything like that, the best thing that you can do, and that I found that is actually 100% foolproof, is to do the damn work. Not to sugarcoat it, not to try to circumvent it and make it work to your advantage, but to do the work, and to be honest, and to be open, and to be willing throughout the entire program. As a matter of fact, and most people don't even want to hear this part, the key to recovery and the key to sobriety, in my opinion, in my experience, is to do the damn work. Regardless if you're working a 12-step program, if you're working some other form of sobriety method, whatever it is, do the work. No matter how painful it is or how much self-examination you have to put yourself through, that is how you peel the onion back in order to become a better person, which ultimately leads to, there's not a need for that drink to fill that void, or that drug to fill the emptiness that you're holding on to. Because once you're able to let go of that baggage, and I'm not preaching, folks, I'm just saying, but once you're able to let go of that baggage and able to release yourself of those burdens, and to step up and say that you did these things and you were at fault in these areas, you can grow from that. You can learn from that. And that is indeed the key to sobriety, in my opinion. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Alright, so I went through the rehab and everything else, and it was 7 weeks. Generally that program is 6 weeks, but for me it was 7 weeks, because I volunteered to stay, and actually I begged to stay an additional week, so I didn't have to go back to my unit just then, because I felt that if I stayed a little bit longer, then they would think that I was cured. So I did an additional week, and actually it was a very painful week, because I had to reveal a whole bunch of poppycock within that period of time. A bunch of stuff that hurt. So after that ended, not even 2 days later, was it 2 days? Yeah, 2 days later, I spent the weekend with my family, convinced that I was cured, and that everything was good. And then I went back to my apartment, the one that I drank in every single day, and the one that I isolated myself in every moment that I was not at work. This apartment still had tonnage of beer, and still had tonnage of beer bottles, and you know, everything to remind me of all the reasons why I thought drinking was the bomb, which it wasn't. It was definitely my downfall. And I didn't let go of those things that were holding me down when I was in rehab. I just kind of hid them. And so everything started to surface again. In the moment I walked through the daggone door, when I was sitting in the room, something in my alcoholic brain said, go get some beer, man. You deserve it. You went through all this mental anguish and this emotional release during rehab. You deserve a drink. Damn it, if I wasn't drunk again within an hour and a half of saying that to myself. I'm telling you this because that is the reality for a lot of folks who go to rehab, and a lot of folks who do the work and generally try to make themselves a better person. We find ourselves back in the same environments and back around the same triggers that were holding us, you know, in lock in the first place, as far as our alcoholism and our addictions. So there I was, drunk as hell again. Day 2 out of rehab, folks. I was drunk again, and I was off to the races, and there was no stopping me. And I used the excuse of my success in rehab to validate me drinking, which is so ironic and bizarre, but that's the insanity of alcoholism, and that's the insanity of a disease like addiction. And anyone out there who's an addict or an alcoholic, I think, can attest to this and, you know, put it into real terms. So I was drunk again for another 2 years, and I'm telling you, I came to a couple conclusions about myself. Is that there was no one who was going to get me to stop drinking except for me. And the way that I was going to achieve that was going to be able to was by admitting my faults and admitting my character defects, because nobody wants to admit that crap. When I was in rehab, I didn't want to admit it to the people there, and I didn't want to admit it to the damn counselors who kept trying to pressure me to tell myself that I was all jacked up, because I didn't want to believe that. And I don't know, that's just where I was. In that 2-year period, I went through a lot of bull crap, and it was all self-induced, folks, because I was a self-sabotaging fool, and you know, I just didn't know how to deal with being me. Through all the good things I had in my life, people, I'm telling you, I had such an identity crisis that if you took the uniform off of me, I was a daggone buffoon, and I didn't know how to be a person. And that's where I had to find out who I was, and it took another course to rock bottom in order to do that. Man, I must have hit rock bottom like 9 or 10 times before I actually got sober. And these aren't like rock bottoms to where I'm like, oh, I have a problem, I should stop drinking. No, these were life-altering events, people. And a lot of folks out there, unfortunately, have to go through a life-altering event to realize what they're doing isn't working for them anymore. And that's where I was. I mean, I say that a lot because I can't make excuses for what I am or who I am. I have to be able to be okay with it. Am I okay being an alcoholic? Well, you know what? I kind of have to be. It's a matter of what I do day by day to live in recovery and to thrive in my sobriety, versus think of all the reasons that I should drink and just commit to that alone. Because by doing that, I'm going to be drunk within 10 minutes. I'm telling you straight up. And if I go out drinking again, I'm probably not coming back. I mean, I just know that about myself. So, all that drama aside, right? The course of the rock bottom came in such a passive way that, I really didn't see it creeping on me. And what I was doing is, instead of like binge drinking in public all the time, I started, casually drinking by myself and ensuring that nobody saw me throwing out my bottles. And if I couldn't throw out my bottles, I would just stockpile the hell out of them until my apartment literally was full again of beer bottles and beer cases and empty food cartons and all that crap that goes along with being a very functional alcoholic. And I would go about my day-by-day profession thinking I had everybody fooled. Well, that wasn't the case, people. I had nobody fooled. Matter of fact, everybody, to include my wife, knew that I was drinking again. And why? Because my behavior changes and my demeanor changes, my skin changes, my hair changes, and people could see this. And I thought I was walking on cloud 9, like I went to rehab, I'm good to go. Yeah, look at me, I'm a good leader and all this stuff. Man, I was full of crap. And I seriously thought I had it good. I was an instructor at this time, and I ended up at a leadership school training other people to be leaders. What? Me? Yep, that's right, because I was damn good at my job, and I was damn good at being a soldier, and I was really, really good at leading soldiers. So I put all my rocks into that basket, and that's what I played my hand with, is that I was a good instructor. You know what? For the first year that I was an instructor, I was still drinking, and I was still drinking every single night. And it was apparent to everybody who was around me, because, the instruction that I was giving out lacked quality, and it lacked, personality, and it lacked invested interest and everything else. Instead, it was teach off the board of the book until about 1500 and call it quits. The last 2 years that I was instructing were fantastic. I was actually instructor of the month, instructor of the quarter, and I was on the verge of being instructor of the year, but I didn't want to put myself in that position to take it from somebody who could benefit from being instructor of the year. If that makes sense to anybody out there, let me know in the comments. Because I was retiring from the United States Army, and the other instructors were staying in the Army. So, to me, if I were to take that title for myself just for the sake of taking it, then that would have done me no good, except to say that I'm instructor of the year, whoop-de-whoop, and retire, like do nothing with it. So I thought it was best to kind of not give it away to somebody else, but make the opportunity much better for them to earn it than for me to take it from them. That's just me. See, I am a good person, deep down below. But that first year was detrimental, because that's when I failed a chemical deficiency test. And now I had to kind of backpedal a little bit, because I want to tell you about my Army substance abuse counselor. Her name is Sheila Albers, and if anybody out there ever runs into her, let her know I say hello and that I'm doing well because of her. This lady held me accountable to every single word and everything I said, and she did it without any kind of no kindness, no, there, buddy, you're fine. She let me know. She said, dude, you're full of shit. And you know what, I wouldn't be where I am if she hadn't done that. So what happened with Sheila Albers? She was a damn good counselor, and she was very open with people. She was very frank, and matter of fact, she's one of the inspirations for me to start this YouTube channel in the first place, One Sober to Another. Because the way that she talked to people was to them. She didn't talk at people. She gave people the room to make decisions, good or bad or indifferent, for themselves. And she took herself out of the equation. But she let you know if you were jacked up. I thought I had Sheila Albers fooled, man, and I was going day by day. You know, I had to attend a mandatory Army substance abuse counseling once a week for a period of a year. And this is subject to blood tests and breathalyzers and everything else, mandated after the time at rehab. Well, I seriously thought that as long as I showed up to counseling sober, nobody would know that I was drinking. Man, come on. How stupid do you have to be? I was going to counseling with a bunch of other alcoholics and addicts and just trouble drinkers and things like that in the first place. So what the hell was I thinking that I could fool them? Anyway, so I would always offer up advice, and I was always, you know, first to say, you should do this, you could do that. Sheila Albers knew that when somebody is going through a successful recovery or recovering and living in sobriety, we have a tendency to say things like, I would, or I should, or this is something I could, those kinds of statements. If you are trying to deflect and make people look away from you, I would say things like you should, or you could, or perhaps you would do this. So she picked up on those statements, and she picked up on them quick. So she sent me for a blood test, and me being the smart and intelligent alcoholic that I am, thought that I could beat a blood test. What the hell was I thinking? So I went to this laboratory and I got my blood drawn, and then I went on some leave. When I was on leave, I drank the whole time. When I was going to counseling, I drank the whole time. When the blood test came back, though, look, this was a sticky situation. When that blood test came back, this was the last day that I was supposed to be in the Army substance abuse program. The very last day. Matter of fact, my paperwork was already pretty much signed, and Sheila Albers was going to release me. My Big Daddy, who was in charge of me, my first sergeant, and my platoon sergeant, who was second in charge, they had to come to this this meeting of me being released. I forgot the name of it. And so they're sitting there, I'm sitting there, Sheila Albers is saying all these wonderful things about how I did in the program and all that stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, I fooled everybody. Yeah. Sheila Albers was about to sign the last line on the paper, folks. The last line that said, I no longer have to attend. And in my mind, I was like, God dang it. I feel so great because I can drink whenever the hell I want to. Sheila Albers looked down, she saw a set of numbers, and she said, huh. And she looked at me, and she looked back down at the paper. And for me, my sorry for the image, my butthole went. And Sheila Albers looked at me, she said, tell me again that you're not fucking drinking. Sorry for the F-bomb, but that's what she said. And I was like, oh, yeah. And everything just melted, and I felt myself shrink to the smallest person on the planet. And my first sergeant and my platoon sergeant looked at her, and they're like, what? And then Sheila Albers said, he's been drinking. He's been drinking, not a little, a lot. Because I was about 3 or 4 times over a normal level limit of it's an enzyme or something like that. And I was about 3 or 4 levels higher. And that set off a whole new set of games, a whole new set of rules, and a whole new set of guidelines that I would have to adhere to for the next, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks, maybe a little more. Anyway, I am damn blessed to be sitting here. I am blessed to be in recovery, and I am blessed to be sober, folks. I'm blessed to have the opportunity to talk to people like you. I enjoy doing these videos. I enjoy doing this stuff on my way home and being able to sit and talk with you guys, as well as the formal videos that I do once in a while. And look, I just want to say thank you for those who have subscribed to the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a chance, subscribe, so that way maybe one of these videos in the future can help you or someone else you know. And I don't know, I've been through a lot, I've done a lot, and I've definitely learned a lot in my sobriety that I like to pass on to everybody. And I don't know, part 4 is going to come up pretty soon, and I hope you enjoyed this small installment of I Am a Train Wreck. So this is part 3. Look, my story is huge, and you're getting a snapshot. So if you want to hear more in detail, let me know in the comments below. And if you need help or anything of that nature, there's always links in the description. Check them out for any kind of emergency you might have. Even if you need help right now, there are links below, folks. I'm one sober to another. I'm Wayne. I'm an alcoholic. I love you all. Stay classy. If you need me, hit me up with a DM on Instagram, Twitter, or Reddit, and I will see you guys in the next one.